Once upon a time, in a small village, there lived a poor shoemaker who was struggling to make ends meet. Times were bad, and he grew poorer and poorer. He worked hard every day, making shoes for the villagers, but despite his efforts, he barely had enough money to put food on the table for himself and his wife. At last, one day, he only had enough leather to make one pair of shoes. The shoemaker was feeling very discouraged. He decided that he would work late into the night, using the last of his leather to make one final pair of shoes. He cut out the leather for the shoes and left it on the table and said, "I am all ready to begin work in the morning. I will wake up early and make these shoes." Then he said his prayers and went to bed and slept in peace. He was determined to finish making the shoes in the morning and sell them the next day and make enough money to buy more leather and supplies. In the morning, he woke up early to begin his work, but he was very surprised to find the shoes lying finished on the table. He picked up the shoes and looked carefully at them. There was not a single bad stitch in the work. The shoemaker was amazed, as he had not made the shoes and could not figure out who had done it. He could not even guess. Soon, a man came in who wanted to buy some shoes. The pair was so well made that he bought it for a good price. The shoemaker was thrilled. With this money, he was able to buy more leather and supplies to make 2 pairs. Again that night, he cut out the leather, set it on the table, and went to sleep. The next morning, when he woke up, 2 more pairs of shoes appeared in his shop, even more beautiful than the first pair. The shoes were so beautiful that he was able to sell them quickly, and now he bought leather for 4 pairs. These he cut out that night and found finished the next morning. So it went on. The work which he began in the night, he found it finished the next morning. He only had to buy leather and cut out shoes, and magically the shoes would be made for him, while he slept peacefully at night. His business prospered, and he became very successful and wealthy. One winter night, the shoemaker cut out several pairs of shoes. That night, the shoemaker was determined to solve the mystery and find out who was making the shoes. Then, instead of going to bed, he said to his wife, "My dear, I would like to find out who helps us every night. Let us stay up and watch tonight." His wife agreed. So they left the candle burning. They hid themselves in a corner of the room. As the clock struck 12, there came into the room 2 little elves. They were about 6 inches tall, with long pointy ears. They were dressed in old and torn clothes, with no shoes or hats. They sat down on the shoemaker's table and began to work. The shoemaker and his wife watched in amazement as the elves quickly started sewing the shoes, singing and giggling as they worked. They sewed so well and so fast that the shoes were soon finished. When they were finished, the elves disappeared as quickly as they had come. The next morning, the wife said, "Husband, these little men have helped us. I would like to do something for them. Hear my plan. They must be cold, running about with torn old clothing, and no shoes on their feet. I will make them some clothes, and knit them some stockings. Would you make a pair of shoes for each?" "Sure I will, and gladly too," said her husband. So they set to work and made the clothes and shoes. That night, they did not put any work on the table. Instead, they laid the gifts for the elves on the table. Then they hid to see what the little men would do. At midnight, as usual, came in the little elves. They jumped up on the table, expecting to find leather to be sewed into shoes. There was nothing except beautiful little clothes. The elves looked at the clothes in wonder. They felt the soft cloth and put their hands in the little pockets. They were perfectly sized for them. At last, they dressed themselves and jumped and danced for joy. Over stools and chairs they went, singing. Who will wonder at our glee? Happy little elves are we, well dressed now, as you may see. Finally, they danced out of the room, and they never came back any more. But the shoemaker had been kind to those who had helped him, and he was never again in need. His business continued to prosper, and as long as he lived, he and his wife lacked nothing. Years went by, and the shoemaker grew old. He passed his business on to his son, who also prospered and was grateful for the help of the elves. The shoemaker lived a happy life, knowing that the elves were always watching over him. The moral of the story is that hard work and kindness are rewarded in the end. The story also teaches us about the importance of gratitude and paying it forward. The shoemaker's success was not only due to his hard work, but also to his kindness and gratitude towards the elves who had helped him. This story reminds us that sometimes the smallest things can make the biggest difference, and that a little bit of magic can go a long way. If you enjoyed watching this story, please hit the like button and subscribe to my channel, RK's English Language Learning, for more interesting stories.